How serious are Russia's recent attacks on Ukraine's supply routes in Kostiantynivka? Following reports that Russian forces have successfully crippled the logistics network of Ukrainian military forces, tensions have escalated in the region. According to Denis Pushilin, the leader of the Donetsk People's Republic, this development is one of the most significant on the front lines today. Kostiantynivka is no longer just a point on a map. It is an important center that controls the pace of military movements and the allocation of ammunition. The consequences of supply chain disruptions can rapidly spread on the battlefield, and something frightening happened in this tense environment, a time that significantly increased the seriousness of the issue. Pay attention to the whole story. In the vast frozen fields of Donbass, a symphony of destruction is unfolding. With deadly accuracy and unstoppable speed, the forces of the Russian Federation have now reached a crucial juncture that could forever change the landscape of the conflict. Russian battalions have succeeded in cutting off the Ukrainian army's lifelines in the west of cities that were previously considered impregnable fortresses. The continuous advance near Dobropoli is confirmed by the latest frontline reports. The Russian military is not just advancing. They are swallowing her defensive positions slowly but surely, advancing like a flood. Kostiantynivka and Dobropoli are much more than just dots on the map. They serve as the center of an integrated logistics network that serves the entire northwest sector. And now, that heartbeat is fading. Field commanders are heavily reliant on logistics. Weapons are nothing but scrap metal without ammunition. Soldiers become weary bodies without rotation. Russian actions have created a situation that military analysts have called a strategic chokehold in Kostiantynivka. Ukrainian soldiers find themselves trapped in a distant defensive labyrinth after the main supply routes to the west of the city were cut off. Ammunition deliveries have stopped, military rotations have almost turned into suicide missions, and personnel evacuation is no longer possible. The level of tactical sophistication displayed by Russian pressure in the region is impressive. Instead of relying solely on frontal assaults, they expanded their fire control areas. Russian artillery and missile systems can now reach every inch of land leading to Dobropoli, making it a deadly passage for anyone trying to enter or exit the area. It seems that this fortification system will soon come to an end. The entire defense line in the northwest region could start to collapse like a series of dominoes when this integrated logistics center is neutralized. This is the bitter truth that Kiev has to face. The unique precision of Russian military technology is now destroying the fortresses built over the years. The Air Force delivers overwhelming blows from the sky, which is the reason behind the success on land. The main question is whether the reason for this is the effectiveness of Russian precision weapons. Yes, and the two most feared names of modern times are the massive FAV 3000 bomb and the Kh-38 missile. The Kh-38 is a masterpiece of Russian military engineering. Kh-38 is a next-generation air-to-ground missile capable of accurately hitting stationary or moving targets. Modular design is one of its advantages. Depending on the target, it can be equipped with different warheads and guidance systems, such as laser, infrared, or satellite seekers. The Kh-38 flies at supersonic speed and is launched from combat aircraft, such as the Su-34 or Su-57. It is very difficult for any Western air defense system to prevent this, due to its capacity for precise maneuvers in the final phase of flight. Far beyond the front lines, Ukraine's supply convoys, command centers, and bridges were destroyed by this missile. If the Kh-38 is a scalpel, the FAV 3000 is a sledgehammer. With the addition of the planning and correction module, this 3-ton air bomb has been transformed into a guided bomb capable of gliding over long distances. Large weapons depots, extensive troop concentrations, and underground concrete fortifications are the main targets of the FAV 3000. The large mass of explosives creates a shockwave that can demolish buildings hundreds of meters away. No shelter or trench is deep enough to protect workers from the atmospheric pressure created by FAV 3000. The morale of Ukrainian forces has been badly affected by the deployment of the weapon on the battlefield because they know they have nowhere to hide. The combination of the precision of the Kh-38 and the ruthless destructive power of the FAV-3000 obliterated Ukrainian defenses in Dobropolia and Kostiantynivka, allowing Russian forces to advance with minimal losses. Volodymyr Zelensky is clinging even more to his own political story amidst the noise of Russian artillery. There are many diplomatic activities in Kyiv. A senior NATO official, Boris Ruga, recently met with Ihor Yovkva, the deputy head of the presidential office. The reassurances from the meeting were encouraging. A new $500 million aid package under the Pearl program, a staggering $38 billion commitment for this year, and 80% of the aid coordinated through NATO. However, those billions of dollars seem distant and abstract on the front lines. Even if it does not appreciate battlefield symbolism, Ukraine expects the materials to arrive on the symbolic date of February 24th. The most important question is whether this aid will reach the field before the defense lines in the West are truly erased from the map. Since Russia is currently in full war mode, the reality is that Western aid often arrives too late and in amounts insufficient to keep up with its military-industrial potential. Because Russian missiles are always one step ahead, plans to strengthen air defenses and protect Ukraine's energy infrastructure are often destroyed before they can be implemented. At the NATO negotiating table, a $38 billion aid offer might seem like a lot, but this is essentially nothing more than an attempt to fix a dam that has burst in the face of precision Kh-38 strikes and over 3,000 bombings. Each new Western arms delivery only serves to increase the suffering of the soldiers on the ground and worsen the situation, without changing the already evident outcome. Russia has shown that in the 21st century, technological superiority, logistical determination, and unwavering resolve in shaping history are more important than rhetorical or diplomatic assurances for winning wars. A new era of Middle Eastern supremacy has begun, as evidenced by the glow of Russia's precision bombardments as night falls over Dobropoly. Will this latest round of aid succeed in bringing about change, or will it remain just a costly consequence of a failed plan? Before we could find the answer to this question, Russia launched a major attack that would open a new window for us. The Kherson region is where the series begins. Gyatsynt-S howitzer systems were used by the artillery of the Dnieper group of troops to precisely fire at enemy targets on the right bank of the Dnieper River. With the defended areas captured by Ukrainian military forces, the attacks also damaged a D-30 towed howitzer. The enemy's capacity to carry out fire missions and hold positions along the riverbank decreased as a result of the bombardment, rendering the entrenched units ineffective and destroying the defensive infrastructure. The artillery of the southern group of forces used the 203mm Pion howitzer to target visibly concealed enemy assets in the Seversk direction. The bombardment revealed and destroyed a camouflaged gun and support positions. The powerful impact destroyed the defensive structures and made it difficult for the enemy to initiate fire missions in the area, neutralizing opposing positions. The artillery of the Central Group forces used D-30 howitzers to fire with precision at enemy positions stationed in the Dnepropetrovsk direction. The attacks destroyed a position occupied by Ukrainian forces, incapacitated personnel, and dismantled the defensive infrastructure. Russian units neutralized these positions, reducing the enemy's capacity to carry out fire missions and maintain their positions in the sector. Rubicon UAV operators conducted precision strikes on several enemy assets in the Krasny Lyman and Sumy directions. The attacks destroyed armored vehicles and motor vehicles, removed parts of the communication system, and eliminated trenches and temporary deployment sites. Additionally, the Ukrainian Army's electronic warfare equipment was silenced. These attacks made it difficult for the enemy to coordinate operations, damaged defense infrastructure, and affected their logistics. During the ongoing conflict operations in the Zaporizhia region, the air defense units of the 58th Army, part of the Dnieper Forces Group, effectively intercepted and destroyed another enemy drone. Possible attacks on infrastructure and frontline positions were prevented by the series of fire from air defense systems, which destroyed the UAV before it could reach its target. The 127th Motorized Rifle Division, supported by the 218th Tank Regiment of the 5th Army, captured Krynikna in the Zaporozhye Oblast with determination. The Guards seized a defensive area of up to 3 square kilometers, dismantled enemy positions, and secured the strategic region. The action resulted in the death of more than a platoon of soldiers from the 225th Separate Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. 5 Baba Yaga hexacopter drones, 2 UAV command centers, and 2 armored combat vehicles were also destroyed. Russian forces achieved tactical superiority in the sector by neutralizing both personnel and sophisticated aviation systems, disrupting enemy supplies and command capabilities. Once again, Rubicon's drone units targeted various enemy assets with precision strikes. The operations incapacitated Ukrainian military personnel, damaged motorized and armored vehicles, and destroyed trenches and temporary deployment sites. To further complicate logistics, parts of electronic warfare equipment and communication systems were dismantled, and material storage facilities were struck. Additionally, many enemy drones, including ground-based robotic systems, were destroyed. These moves demonstrate the expertise of Rubicon specialists in focusing on both advanced technology and human targets, seriously weakening the enemy's ability to fight and coordinate operations. FAB air bombs were used against the temporary deployment camp of the Ukrainian Armed Forces 58th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade in Kharkiv region's Kazakhstan Lopan. The infrastructure of the distribution area was damaged, and enemy positions were destroyed with precision strikes. The released video shows how air power affects the tactical situation on the front line, and highlights the destructive potential of air bombs in suppressing enemy formations. The temporary deployment station of the 22nd Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces was discovered by Russian forces during aerial reconnaissance in the settlement of Veteranarn. The building was precisely hit by a series of high-explosive aerial bombs fired instantly. The precision of the attack ensured that the deployment area received the maximum damage while guaranteeing minimal collateral damage. The battalion's capacity to reorganize and coordinate actions in the area was effectively hindered by Russian aircraft. The operation demonstrates the strategic importance of precision bombing and aerial reconnaissance in neutralizing valuable targets. The temporary deployment sites of the Ukrainian Armed Forces were targeted in the Kharkiv region with FAB-500 aerial bombs. The 22nd Separate Mechanized Brigade in Veteranarn and the 159th Separate Mechanized Brigade in Okremovka were targeted. Bombardments rendered personnel ineffective by destroying troop concentrations and disrupting defense plans, and damaged infrastructure. Russian forces reduced the enemy's capacity to regroup and continue operations in the sector by destroying these deployment points. The assault units of the 245th Regiment targeted and destroyed an enemy observation station in the village of Kuryev Kozachak in the Kharkiv region, using an anti-tank guided missile system. Russian military drones flew directly to the fortified shelter, struck repeatedly, and tore it apart. By eliminating the ATGM threat and neutralizing the enemy within, precise UAV strikes reduced the enemy's capacity to track movements and conduct armor-piercing attacks. A Ukrainian fuel tanker was targeted and destroyed by Russian forces with Lancet loitering munitions near Berezhne in the Kharkiv region. The vehicle and its cargo were destroyed by a precision strike, disrupting the enemy's supply chain and reducing their capacity to sustain frontline operations. In addition to depriving Ukraine's military forces of vital supplies, the destruction of the fuel tanker also reduced the region's logistical resilience. FAB-500 aerial bombs were used to target the temporary deployment camp of the Ukrainian Armed Forces 159th Separate Mechanized Brigade in the village of Kolodezny in the Kharkiv region. In the distribution area, precision strikes damaged the infrastructure and eliminated troop concentrations. The bombardment reduced the brigade's combat potential in the region, hindering its capacity to reorganize and continue operations. Units of the Central Group of Forces actively repelled enemy counterattacks in the Krasnoarmysk, Myrnograd, and Dnepropetrovsk Oblast regions. The destruction caused by Ukraine's military forces, including militants, artillery, vehicles, fortified positions, and heavy bombardment drones, is featured in the war footage dated February 17th. Among the removed equipment were Baba Yaga drones, HMMWVs, Humvees, pickup trucks, and self-propelled howitzers. The attacks reduced the enemy's capacity to move, plan, and conduct drone strikes by destroying both their mobility assets and sophisticated air platforms. From modest vehicles to sophisticated UAV systems, this operation demonstrates how Russian forces can adapt to target various threats and maintain tactical control on multiple fronts. Finally, the paratroopers of the 137th Ryazan Regiment of the Airborne Division are vigorously pursuing the enemy's infantry, military equipment, and heavy bombardment drones of the Ukrainian armed forces along the Sumy Line. Airborne forces move quickly and precisely, identifying and destroying targets to clear the way for assault groups to advance. In addition to destroying enemy defenses, their activities also exert psychological pressure, causing the units of the Ukrainian armed forces to constantly retreat in fear of unexpected attacks. We have reached the end of today's update. Thank you for watching, and don't miss our next films.